What's going on, guys? Robert here once again, live with you. Late night. It is a little bit late. I'm sorry for getting on here so late, but it's a pretty important update. I knew I was on the wrong feed. There you go. It is a very important update. I wanted to go through some information with you that has to do with all of our futures. Really, it's about the leverage that America is used to having around the globe. We basically can write just blank checks. You know, that's the way we've been for the last, since the petrodollar, the early 70s. But things have changed, and things have been changing for quite some time. It's just now that the change has gotten to a point where we're starting to see it affect everything. It's affecting everything. And what's happening right now geopolitically is of huge consequence. Everybody needs to get up to speed and understand what's actually happening. This has to do with Greenland. Greenland is very important. There's a lot going on that people don't understand about Greenland and with what's happening. This is all about the BRICS, Russia, China's influence, Trump's position and what his real purpose is and how he's facilitating. And I think personally, I think Trump is fast tracking. I think he's facilitating a lot of what's happening right now. And I don't think it's in a good way. I think people hope that he's doing the right thing. I think people are hoping that he's making the deals and being the guy that's going to go in there and fix the problems because he's got that, personality that is going to be competitive. But I don't think it's, it's not my style for sure, but it wouldn't be my style. I mean, if I needed, it's kind of like having, and maybe this is why he likes MMA so much. MMA is mixed martial arts. He loves to watch. It's kind of like boxing on steroids, but he loves to go to those gladiator fights, and I've watched them too. I like the art of combat, but because there's always technique. But when you sit back and you watch a battle, and you see somebody that gets prepared for this battle, it's psychological. They look at each other, they measure each other, they try to get aware of their talents and their skills. They usually study each other pretty well before they go into the fight too. But when they come out, especially when they're weighing in and they stand in front of each other and they look each other in the eye, they're just really trying to size each other up. But they've done a lot of research. They pretty much know what they're getting into, I think, most of the time. But one of the guys is really, cocky, arrogant, boastful. Got to talk all the time. Get in your face, try to make you, try to attack you in a certain way psychologically. The one person that was really good at doing that was Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was excellent. But he had a lot to back up. He was able to back up what he was doing with skill, right? He had some skill. But he was able to get into people's heads. And that was a part of his technique too, was to get into the person's head, right? And so, but does Trump really do that? Well, he doesn't get into my head. I'm sitting there watching it thinking it's kind of laughable, but I think other global leaders are doing the same thing. They see his bravado, and a lot of people want to believe that his bravado is power. They want to believe that his bravado and his arrogance and his, his bullying is gonna make everything right. Like, we're gonna get back what we deserve. We deserve Donald Trump because Donald Trump can get back what we've lost, right? What we've lost. We've lost so much, and it's all because of them pesky Democrats, those pesky liberals. But what we don't understand is that, and I think Americans have a hard time trying to a lot of people have a hard time trying to wrap their brains around the Hegelian dialectic, or the idea that we're being manipulated by a power that doesn't care about Democrat or Republican. In fact, they use both sides. They fund both sides. They choose and pick who they want to run on both sides, and then they decide who they really want to win in the end. It's kind of like already rigged. You know what I mean? And the people that vote don't realize they really don't have a choice, you know? And so they're just kind of picking people that they think feels better, right? And especially if you're on a red or a blue team, you're on both sides. You got a tribal mentality, an our team against your team mentality, and it's competition, but it's really already rigged. It's very similar to WWE or the False Wrestling Federation. And I always bring this up, but I just want to reiterate this. For those who haven't heard this story, Jesse Ventura, who ultimately became, I think it was Minnesota's governor, Jesse Ventura used to be in professional wrestling. And, you know, professional wrestling's all fake. If you didn't know that, yeah, sometimes they do hit each other over the head with a chair, and it is real, and it makes them bleed. But they're big boys, and they're used to getting beat up, and they don't care. It's a part of the game. But they're really not there to really fight. They're not really fighting. They're just pretending. They have an outcome that's already predetermined. Jesse Ventura, who became a governor of a state, which was Minnesota, said, politics is just like WWE. We go in, we hate each other on the camera, we say all kinds of things, bravado, hatred, boasting. We make a lot of media buzz because we craft these narratives of, personal vendettas, and then one guy's the bad guy, one guy's the good guy, and everybody's emotionally involved in the whole drama, and then they go out there and they fight it out and they wrestle it out, but it's all fake. But some people know it, some people don't, some people don't care. Some people don't care it's fake, some people do, some people don't know. You know what I mean? And he says the politics behind the scenes and the Democrats and the Republicans are exactly the same thing. We hate each other on camera. We play the game. We get our own money. We get all of our funding. And then we go out and we pretend like we hate each other. And then we get behind the scenes. We go out and have beers with each other, pat each other on the back. We're friends. He said it's the same exact thing. And I think Jesse Ventura, I think he renounced his citizenship. I think he lives in Mexico now. But anyways, I just want to, it is theater. It's all theater. So I want to get into this because there's a video that I just watched, and I really thought everybody needs to understand what this guy is saying. And I'm going to promote this guy's channel. Obviously, he doesn't really need me to promote him because he's already a pretty large channel. But I like his commentary, and no, it's not Canadian Prepper. I mean, I like Canadian Prepper too. You know, I'm not saying anything against any of these guys. These guys are all... This guy, I believe, is a Christian. This guy that I'm going to share with you guys right now, I believe he's a Christian. And I'm going to kind of go over some of what he said, and I'm going to commentate and add my 2 cents. But I really want you to listen to what this guy has to say. Some of you guys may know who he is. Some of you may not. But I'm going to tell you who he is so you can go follow him. He talks about the book of Revelation in here a little bit. And I thought it was really interesting. And I've been following this guy for a couple of months now. Excellent commentary. He's got a lot of similar opinions. But I wanted you guys to hear this, and then I'm going to talk to you guys about other news stories too. Don't worry, we're going to get into other news. But I wanted to go through this because I think this is so vitally important. He just posted this a few hours ago. Now his channel is Black Scout Survival. Black Scout Survival. He has about 100 or 700,000 subscribers. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because his perspective is one that I don't really hear too much. And I think we should all be, paying attention to this. Let me just pull up here really quick. I have to put a filter on here really quick, so just hold tight for just 1 second. I just got to crop this out. Make sure that I got it right here. And Yeah, because I want to make sure that you can see it here. Okay, there we go. And then the right is about 200, right? 300. Okay. I should have had this set up ahead of time. I'm sorry. And then, okay. All right, so let's go ahead and pull this up here. I got it now. Oh, shoot. Okay. I just messed up. I'm sorry. What the heck did I do? Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, so let me see. I thought I had it right there. See, no wonder. Okay. And this is very important. What we're looking at right now, this information is so important. And okay. And as I said, his name is Black Scout. Okay. Yeah, I probably need a producer to do all this because, see, I do this on the fly myself. And when you're doing two things at once, you know, it's really, especially if I didn't set it up, I'm really sorry about that. So let's go ahead and get into his commentary. And then I'm gonna break down for you what my thoughts are on what he's saying. Okay, so as we continue to go through this, let's understand the big geopolitical picture. It really is a very involved picture, and it involves everything that's happening, whether it's in Russia, South America with the whole Maduro thing, or what's even happening in the Middle East, because that has a lot to do. And I think it's really influencing Donald Trump's agenda. But the thing in Greenland is very important. You know, the Greenland thing has a lot to do with with climate change, because now Greenland's becoming available for all its natural resources because the ice sheets are melting, you know, and it's giving access to that travel route, and it's opening up everything. And so now Russia and China really do want it bad. Hey, there's been another earthquake in Southern California, 5.0. Southern California is shaken by a 5.0 earthquake. Okay, so let's get into this, okay? Let's go. Sorry about the delay on that.
Guys, welcome to Black Scout Survival Late Night Live. So they are not whispering it anymore, okay? They're not hiding it. They're saying it out loud. When you have the Prime Minister of Canada using the words New World Order on camera, and then calmly explains defense alignment, trade restructuring, and rework global system, you're not watching a gaffe. You are watching a declaration. And that's what this video is about. It's about the serious things that are coming right for you. And they're saying out loud. This is not partisan BS. This is what's happening, unfolding. This is about what a system does when it's replacing the old one, and why Greenland, Canada, and man, even the Nobel Peace Prize are suddenly part of the same sentence, right? Let's start off with the most important detail, because it's the one everyone's trying to downplay. Mark Carney didn't say global cooperation. He didn't say multilateral reform. He didn't say updated trade frameworks. He said New World Order. Check it out.
Mine is the first visit of a Canadian Prime Minister to China in nearly a decade. The world has changed much since that last visit.
Now, really quickly, my insert here is that we've always called Canada Chyanada for a reason. Yes, there's a lot of liberals. Yes, there's a lot of commies. But there's a lot of interests that we have that cross over and have traditionally been what secured our continent. But now you've got China making alliances with Canada. Canada and China are making alliances, economic alliances, and defense alliances. Think about this. Defense alliances? Are you serious? Having Canada with bases of Chinese right on our border? Seriously, think about this. Now America's going to get a big taste and a dose of what's been happening in Eastern Europe. But I'm going to tell you this. I don't think that's going to last too long, because it's very similar to what's going on with the Democrats and the Republicans. You know, and this war that, and I'm not saying that the war between the left and the right isn't real. I'm just saying it's orchestrated by the powers that be above. They're basically playing the game with you as a pawn, and you don't even realize it's a game. And this whole thing about left and right hating each other, wanting to civil war each other out, you know, this is real. That's a reality. That's not fake. That's real. But the game is being played from above. And the same idea is taking place in what I think is happening politically, geopolitically, that has to do with nations. It's all being gamed. And there's a lot of big payouts. And I'm going to tell you what, Trump is getting paid out very handsomely for what he's doing. And you know, he says he's got our interest in mind, but, you know, you got to be looking at the big picture and really trying to figure out what's really going on here. If Canada makes alliances with China and we start having, and the reason I brought up the Democrats and the Republicans is because they're talking about how if the Democrats ever get in, all of the Republican leaders are going to jail. They're all going to go to jail. There's going to be nothing left. They're going to totally take control, lock it down. It'll never happen again. And this will be it. We have to push. We have to make sure that we put all these people in jail. This is what the right is saying, right? The right is saying the same thing. We've got to do it before they do it, because they're going to do it if they get back in. If Donald Trump gets out, they come back in, it's over, right? This is the messaging that's being heard. The same thing is happening between nations. If China gets in and they realize, and Russia, they've got us on the ropes, and they can get us at a weak moment, they're going to take us out. They're not going to let it, they're not going to just try to, you know, have trade negotiations and try to work together. Remember, the secret speech of the Chinese general, remember I shared that with you. It's there for everybody to read. This was back in 2005. We've talked about it many times since then. There is one mountain, they say. One mountain, Chinese proverb. One mountain, only two tigers in one mountain. Only one tiger can be on one mountain, not two. And China and Russia, China and the United States are two tigers, right? So one of them has to go. And it's not going to be China. Okay, so they're going to take us out, and that's their doctrine, their military doctrine, everything that they've planned. It was all right there, but nobody looks at it. We've been talking about this ad nauseum, trying to get people to see it. But anyways, let's just go on and listen to what he had to say here, because there's so much I can add to this, but let's go on.
I believe the progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
Pretty serious stuff. He then goes on and explains what he meant, not spiritually, not metaphorically, structurally. Listen to him.
Yesterday, when you met with Premier Lee, one of the things you said in the public remarks was this partnership with Canada and China, this new partnership, sets us up well for the new world order. What did you mean by that? What is the new world order?
Well, it's a great question, Brian, because I think the world is still determining what that order is going to be. And let's be clear what we're talking about first and
We ain't figured it out yet. We're just going to do it.
foremost, which is what are the trading, what is going to govern global trade? What is the role of the WTO?
So listen to what a man says. Global trade, number one. When we're talking about trade, if you're a believer of the Bible and you look at essentially the mark of the beast being the fiscal system, the replacement of the old ways.
WTO going to be? How important are bilateral deals such as the one we're developing, plurilateral deals, if I can use that term, Trans-Pacific Partnership, the potential linkages between Trans-Pacific Partnership and the EU? Where is financial regulation, payment system regulation going to fit into that?
Payment system regulation.
All of these aspects.
So also moving away from the American dollar.
I mean, use fancy word like
Yesterday when you met with
the architecture, the multilateral system that has been developing these is being eroded, to use a polite term, undercut, use another term. So the question is, what gets built in that place? How much of a patchwork is it? How much is it just on a bilateral basis? Or where do like-minded countries in certain areas? So like-minded countries, just to be clear, doesn't mean you agree on everything. Aspects, for example, on digital trade or agricultural trade.
Digital trade, digital currency.
Climate finance is another area. To move into areas of geostrategy, geosecurity.
See, he didn't want to say that. He was trying to figure out a way to say that. We're going to discuss it.
You will have different coalitions that are formed. So what this partnership does is in areas, for example, of clean energy, conventional energy, agriculture, as we were talking about, and financial services, which we've talked less about, but the evolution of the global financial system, the role of the renminbi over time, the evolution of cross-border payments. I know it all sounds very dry, except for your organization, which I think takes an interest in it.
NWO doesn't sound dry to me. So structurally, defense realignment. That's what he wanted to say. That's the kind of what he was dancing around. Trade decoupling, new global rules, reduced dependence on U.S. leadership, and a reworked international financial system. That's not rhetoric. That is architecture. And when leaders start talking about systems, not policies, it means the old one is being retired. And again, if you hear what he's saying, the man's saying is scary. Where people get lost is they get lost on the red versus blue thing. That's essentially what you have to kind of ease back from. You know, a lot of people blame Trump for this. A lot of people blame the tariffs for this. Maybe Trump's personality. But this is about to end the post-World War II financial order. Okay, so the Bretton Woods system, basically the dollar-centric world, the rules that made the U.S. the gravitational center of trade, institutions like the World Trade Organization were built to maintain that order. So what Carney is essentially describing, without saying it outright, is that a world where trade blocs replace global rules, regional power centers override Washington, D.C., financial leverage is fragmented, and loyal to the U.S. becomes optional, because really right now it's kind of not optional for a lot of countries. They're trying to make it where the U.S. is not really that important. And we know that as part of the World Economic Forum. I've talked about this for years, and I've played clips where
Okay, now check this out. So we're gonna continue with that, but I wanted to show you this. This is what China just said. Look at what China just said here. China cannot accept any country acting as world judge, right? That's basically saying, hey, there's a new sheriff in town, and that's China and the BRICS, because we're a basket of currencies. I was going to say a basket case of currencies, but no, we're a basket of currencies, and we're backed by oil and gold. And we're stable. We're not unstable like the U.S. and unhinged, going into all the countries trying to regime change. No, we're a stable global economy that encompasses the whole world. And they're telling, and so you've got Xi Jinping here. We are not the judge, but we're going to make sure the world global order is in check. Everybody will be subject to international law, including the lawless one, Donald Trump, who says he's not subject to international law. Because, Trump has just recently said he's not subject to international law. He's subject to the law in his own mind. That's what he basically said. He will do what he wills, and he limits himself, and that's it. Nobody else has a say on what Donald Trump does. Right? He can be peaceful one moment, and now he's telling Oslo, hey, you didn't give me the peace prize, so now I'm not going to be peaceful anymore. I don't know if you read that. But Donald Trump now says he doesn't need to be peaceful now that he's got his prize, and you didn't give it to me because I was supposed to have gotten it. You gave it to Obama. He mentioned Obama. You gave it to Obama, and Obama hadn't been in office that long. Why didn't you give it to me? I made peace with 8 countries, and now you're not going to have peace. So he's basically threatening the world with chaos because he didn't get his peace prize, or he didn't get served the way he felt he needed to be served. So now there's going to be chaos. But he says, his foremost point is that, there obviously should be peace, but he's not going to be subject to that anymore. So I don't know if you've read it. We're going to read that. We're going to show it to you. He's going to show it to you here. I want you to pay close attention to what Donald Trump said about that. Pay close attention, because this is his character. This is the nature of who you're talking about that is wielding global nuclear power. And this is the nation that Russia and China are worried about doing something crazy. And what do you do with crazy? You sneak attack it. That's what you do with crazy. You sneak attack it. This is why we're in such danger. I think America is in such danger right now. So Prime Minister Carney says that China is, quote, working to attract significant new Chinese investment through joint ventures. Anyways, let's get back to the conversation here.
WEF would say that by 2030, which we're on track for that, obviously look at what's happening right here, to remove the U.S. as the global leader. So the thing is, it gets down to there's a lot of different forces working to make this thing happen. You have China, Russia, so on. They're all working, as well as Israel, they're all working to remove the U.S. from the superpower. See, since the Bretton Woods Agreement, we've kind of been the central position of this. But once you have Carney going to Beijing and essentially making friends, not really a great thing for us, okay, as Americans, right? But once you understand this is not about left versus right or any of that this is about removing the U.S. from the leadership and divorcing from the dollar. Once you understand that, everything else fits into place, okay? Now, Greenland has been a joke lately. A lot of people are making memes about it and so on. Now, this is where people really start laughing instead of listening. Greenland isn't just some ice block and polar bears, okay? It's Arctic shipping lanes, missile defense positioning, early warning radar, undersea cable control, northern access to North America. Greenland is the front door, right? And, they've really kind of distorted this thing. And maybe it's the Trump administration talking about we're going to take it by military force if possible. The thing is, Russia's not laughing about that. China's not laughing about that. And NATO damn sure ain't laughing about it. Even Carney, when asked, he said Canada would protect Greenland, meaning go to war with the U.S. So did China, right? Most of them reacted immediately because they understand what it means if the U.S. locks down the Arctic. It's why Russia openly warned that Greenland becoming a U.S. platform would be the beginning of the end of the world.
Did you just hear that? This is what Putin said. Meditate on that comment of Putin. You need to really think about, what does that really mean? What is Putin really saying there? Putin doesn't just really make these types of comments. Now, I know that you know, but Medvedev does, and he's usually pretty bombastic and in your face. He's kind of like the bad cop of the administration, or whatever you want to call it, the government's mouthpiece for Russia. But Putin's usually cool like a cucumber, very quiet, calculated, strategic, very, you know, he doesn't you know, he's not trying to show off in the way he comes across. You know, he's like an assassin. You know, they don't go around telling you what they're going to do, you know, or boasting about things. They just do it. And look at what he's saying. Look at this comment. I mean, Russia says the end of the world will begin if Donald Trump continues his plan to take over Greenland. Donald Trump knows that this is going to be the strategic, if you will, this is going to secure his position of power. I mean, think about how much oil is in Greenland. They're saying there's more oil in Greenland than any other country, including Venezuela. If we were to take Greenland, we would have more oil on the planet, not to mention all the shipping lanes that go through there. And they have a lot of rare earth minerals there, too. There's a lot of rare earth minerals. Not to mention the fish. There's a lot of fishing. That's all they do in Greenland is they fish. But, and then they're building, they're wanting to set up this whole AI system in Greenland. I don't know what, and they're already there. I guess some of the tech giants have already gone to scope out the land and get prepared to build infrastructure. And they're promising every Greenland citizen up to $100,000 if they'll go along with America's takeover, so that we don't have to go in there with guns blazing. I mean, hey, if I was a Greenlander, there's only 45, what is it? 400, what, so 450? No. I think there's 45,000 people that actually live in Greenland. I think that was the total number. And if they're going to give them 100,000 apiece, if I'm not mistaken, I want to make sure I got that right. The actual, yeah. See, it already knew I was going to ask. See, that's so weird. How does the AI know what I'm going to say? I never typed in that search before. There is 57,000 people that live in Greenland, and you give them all $100,000 apiece. Hey, I would vote for, if I was a Greenlander, I would say, sure, come on in. Give me $100,000, you can come on in. Be my guest. So you're going to have a lot of these people, if they're getting paid off like that. You know, $1 billion or so, how much ever it costs America to do that, is chump change. It's nothing. I mean, Trump made, on his first day in office, when they sold his junk coin or his scam coin, and they dumped all those shares, he probably made like $20 billion. They said he probably made, conservatively, he made $10 billion, but probably $20 billion in just a matter of a day or two of launch, a couple days of launching that meme coin or the scam. They call them scam coins. And this was a great grift that nobody really talked about. But Donald Trump could pull out $1 billion and hand it to every Greenlander just so that he could secure his position if he really wanted to. He could give each one $1 million. He could say, hey, I'll give you $1 million if you'll just let us vote us in. Let us just take over. Because they are an autonomous country. They're an autonomous country. They're administrated for their defense pact by Denmark, but they are an autonomous territory. They have their own police. They have their own government. You know, they basically do everything for themselves. But anyways, let's get back and see what else he had to say here.
It's not hyperbole. Okay. That is deterrence language. I know he beats his chest a lot, but that's pretty doggone serious. But the part many people don't say out loud is, or they don't want to say out loud, is that if we lose Canada strategically, America becomes vulnerable in a way it's really never seen before. Canada isn't just a neighbor, it's a buffer, it's a shield, it's the northern wall. For over 100 years, America's greatest strategic advantage was that our northern border was friendly, aligned, and predictable. Now Canada is openly reframing China as the predictable partner. He said that during the speech he's talking about, he said they were predictable, that the Trump administration is not. They're talking about hedging away from the U.S., talking about multipolar alignment, using New World Order language. That's not liberal ideology. That is strategic repositioning. And yeah, Canada is politically infested with globalist liberals, but this move isn't about culture. It's about survival in a collapsing system. Again, a lot of targets on our back. The uncomfortable truth is that if the U.S. loses influence over Greenland and Canada drifts into Chinese alignment, you will eventually see Chinese military logistics in the Arctic. You'll see it. You'll see it probably in Canada. They'll have bases, okay? Russian missile platforms closer to North America, because Russia and China are best amigos. Surveillance asset pointing south. Shipping choke points outside U.S. control. Missiles at the front door isn't fear porn, man. It's geography. Go look at a map. Great powers don't need permission when the system breaks. They just need to position in a place that benefits them. Again, it's serious business. A lot of people are really not looking at this and really taking it not that serious. This is very serious. You have the CBDC talks and so on. You have all that. And if we go back to Klaus Schwab, talk about this real quick. He's saying in a new world system, we must accept transparency. And I'll even say total transparency. Everything is going to be transparent. And you have to get used to it. You have to behave accordingly. It should become, how should I put it, integrated into your personality. But if you have nothing to hide, this same thing, same language from Patriot Act, if you have nothing to hide, you shouldn't be afraid. He's talking about in this new world order, that's what this speech was about, that there will be total transparency. What is being ushered in before our eyes? A lot of people are kind of blind to it. The ICE and Palantir scheme working now. Do you think it's really about immigrants? Nah. You have ICE asking natural born that look like Americans for their papers. And Kristi Noem, when asked today, she said, yeah, I don't care if you're born here, you're white as can be, you better be carrying a proof of citizenship. They always usher in the same thing as the Patriot Act. And patriots are cheering it on because they say, well, I'm not a legal immigrant. Doesn't bother me. Same thing. Patriots love to give the freedom whenever it's their team doing it. So Klaus Schwab is even saying it there. Palantir's locked in everywhere. Everywhere. When Trump was asked today about whether or not or his thoughts on Canada, listen to what he says.
Mr. President, Prime Minister Carney is in China. Prime Minister Carney is in China. How do you see the deals Canada and China have just signed, trade deals between the two partners?
Well, that's okay. That's what he should be doing. I mean, it's a good thing for him to sign a trade deal. If you can get a deal with China, you should do that.
We have a patriot here, so how are the invaders to be?
You know that statement by Trump was a statement of resignation. His failed policies that have basically opened up the back door to America. This is almost as bad as Clinton opening the door and giving China the keys to steal everything that we've got, intellectual property rights, and just go ahead and reverse engineer our whole manufacturing system. Go ahead. It's fine. Pay us off. You can do whatever you want. And this basically with Trump by default, because he doesn't, either he's doing this on purpose or he's just doesn't understand the consequences of his own, policies. and his personality. It's really about it. I think personality-wise, people just don't like the personality either. And so they're just totally, completely turned off. And it's pushing people like Canada. And obviously Canada is pretty liberal anyway. Maybe they're more aligned with communism, in socialism, communism, maybe. And China's, providing them a great amount of economic trade and now protection. Oh, we'll protect you. We'll come in, we'll protect you. You'll be one with us. So now they're coming in the back door. So this is kind of giving Trump a little more, what it does is it causes fear in the American people. And so then they're going to gravitate to whatever Trump says. And this is what they want. This is what they want. They want all this. This has all been engineered into the script. Trump is going to gain more power because people are afraid of China and Russia coming in, and everything is going into chaos. And Trump is going to be basically the strongman trying to defend. He's like our champion. We got to empower him. Doesn't matter if he's crooked. It doesn't matter if he's corrupt. It doesn't matter if his character sucks. Just get behind him and shut up and wave the flag, because we're all in danger. But is that really going to save us? I mean, really, my message to America is repent, get right with God, and start understanding what really brought us to this situation. God is the one that protects the city. If he doesn't protect it, it doesn't matter how many nuclear weapons you have. It doesn't matter how many forces you have. God opens the door and the enemy comes in. There's nothing you can stop from happening when that happens. The scripture says if God is not watching over the city, those who are watching in vain. It's talking militarily. If if God's not helping you build your house, the laborers are laboring in vain, it says. And a house divided against itself cannot stand. Our house here in America is divided, woefully divided. And I do not think, with the way things are going, especially with what's going on now with this whole military thing going on internally, I have to wonder if that's not the Trojan horse. And people are still believing the lie. They don't realize. Remember, you knew I was a snake before you let me in. The most favorite poem of Donald Trump that he would recite ad nauseum at his rallies. You have to wonder if that was in some way just self-descriptive of something that was actually happening, and people didn't realize that they were the foolish woman that was taking him in, reviving him, giving him life. And then they got bit. So is America getting bit right now by what they thought? And they may still not know it. But at a certain point, they're going to start realizing, now we're going to die. Remember, the foolish woman said, now I'm going to die. And what did the snake say? You foolish woman. You knew I was a snake before you let me in. I keep hearing the statements, well, he's not a saint. He's not a saint. We understand that. He's a politician. He's a businessman. Well, he's not a saint, but maybe he's a snake. Maybe you don't realize what's actually just happened, and you're still believing you're still trusting the plan. I'm just saying, you might want to think about that, because if we find ourselves with our back up against the wall and we end up getting sneak attacked, well, it'll be over in a minute. It won't be that long. You won't have too much time to think. You won't have too much time to think if we get nuked. But anyways, let's go on.
Expelled fairy dust. No, man, give up your freedoms, constitutional rights. It's the patriotic.
Okay, so somebody in his chat room asked him a question. This is the question they asked him.
Thing to do. Fairy dust.
Listen, they said, so how are the invaders going to be expelled? Fairy dust? He's talking about one of the patriots, because he called him a patriot. This is one thing the patriots don't understand. How are we going to expel the invaders that are in our country? Trump's doing what he's supposed to do. Well, this is an excuse for taking away your freedoms. The Patriot Act, remember, give up your guns. Yeah, you're going to give up your guns. All of you people out there that are gun-toting, owners of weapons and what you believe to be the Second Amendment rights, they're all going to be gone because it's going to go down. It's going to come down to that. They're going to get ready to, especially if we start to see what they're saying is coming down. Now, I'll just go back to Dimitri Duduman. For those who are spiritual, those who understand prophecy, and those who know some of the things that I've talked about in relationship to some of these modern day prophetic voices, and yes, there are some I think that are legit. There's a whole bunch of shysters out there. I'm going to tell you what, and I discern between the two. But this one particular man I personally knew, and he proved himself because he lived in Romania. He was severely tortured for his faith. He was under communist dictatorship, and he was helping to smuggle Bibles into Russia with Brother Andrew and God's Smuggler. And that was back in the 80s. And they basically tortured that man, electrocuted him to the point where he would almost die. And they did it a few different times. And then they finally exiled him. Amazing story. I won't go into all the details. But he said in one of his prophetic dreams that he said God showed him to tell America it would happen in the future. This was when America was in détente with Russia. There was no possibility of this even happening. But he had gotten popular because he had gone through so much persecution that he went around the Christian circuit on all the major news Christian networks. And they loved his testimony. But when he started talking about what God told him to tell America, the Christians of America were like, huh? Like when your dog looks at you like, what? Oh, the poor old man's been electrocuted just one too many times. Maybe he doesn't understand what's happening geopolitically. We're in détente with Russia. There's no problems. We're not going to be nuked. So what he said was the Lord showed him there would be a day when America would be surrounded by her enemies. Russia, China. He mentioned a couple countries in South America, Central America. I think one of them was Nicaragua, I think. And he said another country, he thinks it was a little short, fat guy, which I think was probably North Korea. And he said that what would happen is America would be internally looking in as riots and unrest begin to take place with turmoil. And the government would begin to look inward. And it would be initiated by communists. It would be a communist type, socialist type thing that would begin to unravel the social order where they would begin to government would have to get involved, right? And that is at the moment when we're attacked. And I'm telling you, it just seems to me that we're being set up for that right now. And he said it would come from Russia and China. They would make a secret pact, and they would have their subs on our coast. And it was at that moment, and he talked about which states would be completely obliterated. You might want to look into some of that. But it's got a similar feel to it that the A.A. Allen prophecies of the 50s, back in the 50s. He had a very similar prophecy. And this was before even the early 50s, I think it was, before the technology was even available for submarine missiles. And he saw the same exact thing. Same exact thing. And that vision you can find on a Google search. And that's a legitimate vision that happened in the mid-50s or early 50s. So if you want to do more research on those, just type in Dimitri Duduman, Romanian pastor. Go read his book, Through the Fire Without Burning, and you can go to the website. There's I think it's called handofhelp.org, and you can read his prophecies. You can read all of his prophecies, his visions, whatever. Go back to Dimitri Duduman's prophecies. But I'm just going to tell you this. That's just the spiritual part of it. Geopolitically, we're looking at all this. He's telling this guy, hey, you're going to have to give up your freedoms if you really want to get rid of all these people then. That's exactly what's coming. He's just giving them a little heads up. He's not fighting with them. He's not saying, oh, you're wrong. You're stupid. We got to stop. We got to stop them from, you know. We can't extricate all of these people all at once. He's saying, well, you're going to just have to comply and give up all your freedoms then, just like you did after 9/11, because that was all part of the plan.
Patriot here. So how are the invaders to be expelled? Fairy dust? No, man, give up your freedoms, constitutional rights. It's the patriotic thing to do. If you're not afraid, right? Just like I promise you, the patriots will be the ones that give up the firearms. They will. There will be some reason that the patriots will want to give up their firearms.
Now, you notice when he said, yeah, you're not afraid, he goes, yeah, you can give it up. You're not afraid, right? You're not afraid. No, because, you know, Klaus Schwab, what did he say? Well, it's going to be a world where everything's going to be transparent. You don't have to be afraid if there's anything to be afraid of. There's anything to be afraid of. There's something wrong with you. Don't you want them to give you a digital enema? Don't you want them to watch you whatever you're doing, wherever you're at, in your home, out whenever you go out, and have your face recognized and your every little detail of what you do analyzed? You don't care, do you? You don't mind. You don't mind that they have a camera in your bathroom, do you? I mean, that's basically what it's like. I mean, they're going to monitor everything that you're doing digitally. They're going to track, trace it, and everything is going to be under the auspices of these technologies. If you don't understand about digital AI and the technologies that are out there right now, you have no clue how much you're being monitored right now. On every front, your emails are being read, all of your private messages are being read on any social media platform. All of your conversations are being listened to, even in your house. Everything. And I'm not saying that there's one person sitting there listening. I'm saying that they're databasing everything. So when the time comes, they can pull up your file just like that, and AI will give them exactly what they're looking for. The AI will find exactly what they need at the moment they need it to do whatever they need to do. That has to do with you. So I'm just telling you, if you don't care and you're willing to give up your freedoms, then you're just going to keep giving them up until you're completely and utterly vulnerable to some digital dictator, some tyrannical digital prison that you've basically walked right into. It's kind of like the Freedom City, right? Here, Donald Trump is making you a Freedom City. Don't you want to be free? Come on in. It's just like during World War II when they had the Jews. What they tell them? They put them in the concentration camps, and what do the concentration camps say on the top? Work equals freedom. That's what it would say on the top when they came into the gate. Hey, you want to be free? You need to work. You're a slave for a little bit until you can work your way into freedom. You just work hard. We'll let you have freedom. You just take that shower. You'll be fine. You'll be clean. Everything. You'll feel so good. Just go into that shower. You'll be fine. Okay, well, here's your Freedom City. Or like Foxworthy said, here's your sign. You need a sign? Here's your sign. Dummy.
Thanks, brother. They sure will. They'll do it. But if we go back, though, you know, people laughed about Trump buying Greenland. I'm not laughing about it because it'll be taxpayer dollars. Talking about giving every citizen there 10,000 to the upwards of 100,000. That'd be great for an American to getting that back, or just maybe stop paying taxes. All this tariff money, we shouldn't just pay taxes, right? But anyway, they laughed in 1917 too. You may not know this. That was the last time Denmark sold territory to the United States, the Danish West Indies.
Okay, really quick. I gotta plug our stuff. We got to start raising some money, guys. But really quickly, I want to make sure you guys get connected to our app. Get our app. Find out when we go live. Breaking news takes place. This is where you got to be. Here you go. BP News here. The new app is available for download at the Apple and Android stores. Get notified instantly when breaking news takes place via the push notification feature if you are just a guest and downloaded, or if you become a member by clicking the upper right-hand corner where the little person icon is to register with BP News. You'll also get a text alert with other community features that will become available when you are a registered member. Do it now before breaking news really hits the fan.
was actually sold to the U.S. It was framed as a boring real estate deal, right? A century later, believe it or not, one of those islands became Epstein Island. No, that doesn't mean that Greenland equals Epstein, but what it means is geopolitical decisions echo forward in ways that no one predicts. History doesn't warn you with lightning bolts. It whispers and then detonates a decade later. And we see the Epstein culmination now. Now, this was Donald Trump's been really bent up about the Nobel Peace Prize. He even had Machado basically told her that she wouldn't be president of Venezuela because she didn't tell them that she didn't want it and that Donald Trump deserved it. Okay, that was the message. She showed up in Washington, gave her Peace Prize to Donald Trump. Okay, so now this is funny. This is funny. Donald Trump, considering your country's talking to Denmark, considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely in peace. And what he's talking about is invading Greenland. Okay. And here's the actual letter here. He said, Dear Jonas, considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars, plus I'm no longer an obligation to think purely of peace, although it will always be predominant, but can now think about what is good and proper for the United States of America. Denmark cannot protect that land from Russia or China, and why do they have a right of ownership anyway? There's no written documents. It's only that boat landed there hundreds of years ago, but we had boats landing there also. I've done more for NATO than any other person since its founding, and now NATO should do something for the United States. The world is not secure unless we have complete and total control of Greenland. Thank you, Donald J. Trump. Now, I don't disagree with the man that we have done more for NATO than anybody. We give them the most money, right? Absolutely. But now, let me tell you the quiet part carefully. Revelation doesn't describe like a single moment. It describes convergence, unified systems, centralized trade, controlled movement, economic compliance, power blocks replacing nations. It doesn't mean that tomorrow is the apocalypse. It means we are entering the phase where the architecture described is becoming possible. So what you're seeing in real time, and I thought we'd never see this in our life, to be honest, but in real time, what you're seeing is the stage is being set for this. That's why this feels spiritual. That's why people get that feeling in their gut. And that's why the language has shifted. You're hearing New World Order thrown around like it's nothing, because systems shape souls. Now, this isn't about fear, but it's about clarity. The New World Order isn't coming. It's being announced. Canada's choosing. Greenland is on the hinge. And Russia.
And it is being announced. And I'm going to tell you what. They're saying that Trump is going to Davos, and we're going to watch this. We're going to be covering this. So you guys make sure you got us on the bookmark and have our app so that when we do go live, you'll know when we're live. We're going to be covering Trump and Davos and what he has to say. But what they've said is that Trump is going to deliver terms of surrender to the globalists. Right. Come on. Trump is going to be delivering terms of surrender, that he's got the globalists up against the ropes, and he's basically wrestling back the world. And you've got all these publications now saying Trump is the man. Trump is the one that's got all the pieces. He's doing 3D chess moves on the global elites. Do you really believe that? Unless, of course, he's the little horn and he's the man of sin. He's the lawless one. And by the way, he did say he's not subject to any law, so that's kind of interesting. And if he really is moving all the pieces on the planet for some grand design to control everything, then there is a possibility. Supernova, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Supernova. I appreciate that. God bless. And so here we are with silver at $95 an ounce. We've got gold now reaching $4,700 an ounce, the first time in history. And there is some global shakeups that are affecting the prices, and it's going to continue, by the way. Silver is both of them, silver and gold, but it is a strategic resource. And there's something that's just happened in the last 24 hours that I think everybody needs to understand, and how that's going to affect the prices and how that's affecting the dollar itself. This is affecting the global currency, everything that's happening globally with the currencies. This is why we're seeing this big shakedown right now. So I've kind of been studying this, and it's really very concerning, but it's also anybody that's really been invested in silver. And I've always thought silver was the place, if you did have a lot of money, but you'd had to have it in physical, because what's going to happen is, I think physical is going to just shoot up, and paper, they're not going to be able to deliver on paper, and they're just going to give you currency, and the currency is not going to be worth anything compared to what the metal's actually worth. But China is sucking up all of these rare earth minerals and these commodities, and silver is one of them. It's just needing it. And I'll just tell you this little bit. The U.S. government just put in a bunch of orders. From what I understand, how it works is that they're taking all of these orders all of a sudden, and this is the time when the COMEX for silver slows down between January and March, where it kind of goes into a dormant state. But there's been more contracts, there's been more acquisitions of ounces, and there's only a certain amount that's out there, and the U.S. is gobbling it up. Or actually, it was J.P. Morgan, or not J.P. Morgan. Was it J.P. Morgan? Yeah, I think it was J.P. Morgan that gobbled it up. But it's doing it because it knows the government is basically putting these orders in, and these are unprecedented moves on silver itself, because it is a metal that is needed in weapons development, AI, battery technology. There's all these new batteries technologies that are coming out that require huge amounts of silver, and they're supposed to be like batteries that can charge in about 5 or 10 minutes as opposed to like 2 hours, but there's a huge amount of silver in them. There's a whole bunch of uses that silver requires in so many different applications, and the Chinese and all these other countries that are manufacturing this stuff need it. So everybody's making a mad dash to acquire it in bulk, and it's a limited resource, so it's running out. So the people that are truly, that actually have the metals themselves, and who knows if they're gonna try to do what they did back in history, where they made it illegal to own gold and silver, and the government would have to come in and confiscate it, if that's where it goes. But anyway, that is another indicator of how serious things are right now. Let's go over to our Telegram page really quick and look at what's going on here. Let's go through some of the news here just for the last day, and then we'll look at the Time Magazine cover here. Trump's next move. My wife told me about this cover, and I said, what was Trump holding? Was he holding was he holding the Kings? I said, is he holding the Kings? I said, tell me what the cover looked like. She didn't know about chess, so she didn't really understand. But then she told me, this morning, she says, yeah, here it is. It is Kings. And look, they're all Kings. Trump has chess pieces that are all Kings. And then there's, on the other side of the board, all pawns. Kings and pawns. And Trump has the golden king. He's holding the golden king piece. But all the other kings are in his possession. He's the one controlling the board, right? The Golden Dawn, or the rising of this golden dome in a golden age, the Golden Dawn, the golden ballroom, that's being erected, and Apollo, who ultimately was golden, one of his golden god of forces, because that's what Apollo was, right? The god of forces. Why is that Trump loves the whole thing about gold, and then he loves Apollo? Because he's got Apollo prominently displayed in his penthouse in a number of different places. But these, and by the way, they're saying, and I bring this back to prophecy because they're talking about how Trump, there was a statement that was made about how Trump was going to be in possession and would be under our control, both Caracas, those three countries, Caracas, Havana, which is Cuba, and Iran, Tehran. Three. And remember, it says the little horn would rise up and it would knock over 3. And this little horn makes great boasts. Is there anybody in history you've ever heard that ever boasted more than Trump? Does he not fit that? And by the way, a trump is a horn. A horn is a trump. A horn represents kings. And look, he's a king. And all of these things that we've told you, we based on prophetic insights that we knew all the way back from 2020 that Trump may in fact be fulfilling. And I gave you a timeline, and I always would say, well, if this is true, then this is what will happen. And sure enough, it would happen. Anybody that has been following my channel, you've known I made predictions about Trump that have actually come to pass on a number of occasions. And the only reason I say that I had any kind of inkling or thought that they might even come to pass is because he seems to be fitting a pattern. And our world seems to be catapulting toward this moment of fulfillment of prophecies that are chronicled in both Daniel, the book of Revelation, Ezekiel, all of them. I mean, Jesus, the apostles, they all talked about these things in very great detail, by the way, too. And for anybody that wants to get deeper on those topics, go over to my BP Ministries channel. You'll see the link there on the main page that says BP Ministries, and get connected and start watching our videos over there. So I go into depth and into teaching and prophecies and different things like this, if that's something that you're interested in. Trump is holding the Gaza Board of Peace signing ceremony in Davos Thursday. What is going on there? Tell me that's not prophetic. If you don't know prophecy, it talks about how this particular man, in this period of time in history that the Bible chronicles during the time of Jacob's trouble, and what we might call or define as the tribulation, this particular man has the ability to pitch royal tents between the Mediterranean and the Holy Mount, which happens to be the Gaza Strip. He pitches his royal tents there, and then he begins to divide the land as plunder and giving out almost as if he's paying people off with the land. This Board of Peace that he's the chairman of, if you haven't looked into that, very interesting. He's got a top tier level of the board of 7, and then a second tier of board members that are 10, and you got to, some of them have to pay to get in, like $1 billion or something, to be a part of it. And they're not permanent members, but I think if you pay $1 billion, you get to be almost a permanent status, from what I remember. And then there's the third board, which is the administrative board that's actually doing the rebuilding, right? The actual rebuilding of Gaza itself. And Trump is the chairman of the Board of Peace that he himself appointed. He's self-appointed. And Israel was really miffed about who he accepted on this board because they're traditional enemies of Israel, one being Turkey, the other one being Qatar, or how do I say it? I think it's the way you say it. Qatar. I know I'm probably saying it wrong. Somebody corrected me, and I'm thinking, oh, now I got to remember how to say it. But you know what I'm talking about. So these are traditional enemies of Israel. And why are they being accepted onto the board? Israel doesn't like this, And they've made statements about this, and they're saying that this is their project and they don't want to let any of this go. But Trump is saying, hey, shut up and sit down. You worry about Iran. This is what Trump told Netanyahu. You worry about Iran. I'll worry about this. Be quiet. You got enough problems of your own. And Netanyahu's going, yes, sir, because he's the Messiah, right? He's their Messiah, supposedly. There's a lot of Jews that believe that Trump is the Messiah. And I say the religious Jews, not all Jews. There's a lot of secular, there's a lot of liberal Jews that, they don't believe that. They like Trump in Israel, but, he's done a lot of good things for them politically, recognizing Jerusalem as the capital, giving them well, he was supposed to give him the West Bank, but he said no. That's interesting. But he gave him the Golden Heights, right? Let him go into Syria. But he installed a former ISIS warlord who was probably overseeing that whole campaign of chopping people's heads off and filming it with cinematic gore for the whole world to see. Remember? During Obama? Well, he's the president of Syria. And I always said, what Israel did was stupid because they basically just shot themselves in the foot. They jumped out of the fire and out of the pan and into the fire. They got rid of Assad, who was pretty much I thought Assad was moderate. He basically had a melting pot of Islamic belief systems, and Christians were involved in that, were a part of that. And even some, I think even Jews were living. I don't think Jews were in Syria, but it was mostly a pretty much of a melting pot of a sampling. It's really, they call it the hub of the Middle East. If you disrupted Syria, you basically threw the whole Middle East into chaos, and that's exactly what we did when we overturned Syria. And I think we all were in part of this, whether it was Israel or the U.S. This was all part of overthrowing Assad. Now you have worse than what's happened in Libya. Libya went into ultimate chaos, and so did Afghanistan and Iraq. We did the same thing there. Arab Spring, we did the same thing now in Syria. And now Israel has lots of problems. I don't know why they would even do that. I guess they don't see the long-term benefits of trying to have some stability. I don't know. But anyways, always could never understand why we were in there, kicking hornets' nests. Why are we kicking these hornets' nests? Why do we do that? Do we want to get stung? Do we want to make things worse? Is this part of the end time plan to just bring in the Antichrist or what? That's the only thing I can think. It's got to be the devil. The devil is the only one that would want to do something like that, if you ask me. But anyways, we get into this Davos thing. We're going to be covering this tomorrow. I think tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? And then Thursday, when Trump makes his speech, we're going to cover it. We're going to probably cover it in the opening, moments when they began to speak. They're going to probably live stream this all over the place. So we're going to be streaming it right here. So don't miss it. Trump deploys U.S. warplanes to Greenland. So there has been deployment of warplanes. Look at this video here where where NATO is literally bringing in troops into Greenland. And they're not telling these guys what they are or who they are. They're special ops. They've got night vision. They've got all kinds of equipment that show that these guys are highly trained soldiers that are coming in from Denmark. This video here is real interesting. You might want to check that one out. We have it on our YouTube channel if you want to see it. This is the message that Trump gave, which I thought was just absolutely off the rails here. Donald Trump said this today. Actually, Donald Trump retweeted this, which basically is him saying, I agree with this message. I confirm this message. He retweets this guy, Mark Tessian. Mark Tessian says, I predict Trump will visit a free Iran, a free Havana, and a free Caracas before he leaves office. That means 3 nations are going to fall as this little horn rises up, making great boasts. and it begins to grow and grow and grow and grow. Okay, so this little horn rises up. You got 7 heads, 10 horns, right? The 7 heads. You got Kushner, Rubio. These are not just these are not kingdoms. These are kings, right? Rubio, Kushner, the guy that used to be the English leader. Anyway, there's 7 of them there, and I can't remember all the names. And then Witkoff is one of them as well. But they've got 7 top tier. Those are the 7 top tier. And then you got the 10 below, or in the middle. So you got 7 and 10. That's weird. Huh? Just saying. It's kind of weird. The Insurrection Act. The Insurrection Act of 1807 is a preamble to a partial martial law. And I said this martial law the other day. I'm just telling you guys, when they bring in the military, it's like getting their foot in the door. They're preparing and they're getting people used to the fact, and this is all part of saving America, right? We got to save America. We got to round up these criminals and we got to expel them. But you're going to have to give us your papers. We're going to have to make sure that we're all on the same page. Everybody is relinquishing their freedom so that we can get rid of the invaders, right? We need to get rid of the invaders, relinquish freedom now. But you're going to say, but it was the Democrats that did it. Trump is here to help. This was all part of the plan. This was planned way in advance. We told you way in advance this was coming. Okay, before Trump even got even close to winning the election. This was back in 2020. We were telling people what was coming. Okay, so how did we know? Okay, well, we read everything. And we know, we understand what's really going on in the big scheme of things, I guess, to some degree. I'm not saying I know everything, but I know, I get the gist. I understand the pattern. And then I also know what biblical prophecy teaches too, so that kind of fits. It fits very well, actually. So this is a preamble to a partial martial law in limited scope, but it could be full-blown martial law if things continue to deteriorate. Inside sources are saying that Trump will declare the Insurrection Act this week. Is a war about to start as well? The insiders is the people that InfoWars talks to. Now, Alex Jones, I know he's probably, made a lot of deals with the devil too. But they do have good sources and they do have insights into what's going on in the Trump administration. They basically use them as an outlet to put out information. So when they tell, you already see the troops on their way anyway. The military's on standby. There's 1,500 on standby. InfoWars has reported that an insider in the White House or in DC has said that the Insurrection Act will be declared this week. This junk food thing was hilarious. You got to see that. This actually was from 2016 or 17. This was an actual statue that actually moved. If you never saw that, it was very creepy, and they made Trump into some kind of Caesar. This was in Spain, kind of like a creature that was dominating the planet. There's his tweets. Remember, he was a big tweeter back then. Everybody was like all upset about his tweets. And he was dressed like some kind of Roman conqueror, Caesar. And ouch. And then, this junk food comment by RFK was really interesting. You got to go check that out. It's so funny. Then we've got this. There's a lot of activity. Was this today? This wasn't today. This was yesterday. Okay, what am I doing here? I'm on the wrong page. Okay, so this is today. So here we got Davos 2006. They're saying the last chance saloon to save the old world order? ? This is coming from Heather Stewart and Dan Sabah. They're saying it's a revolution. Let's look at some of these. me pull some of this up here so you can see it here. This is coming from the Sydney Morning Herald. Revolution. Shock Trump wins. Shock Trump wins. Win sets up New World Order. New World Order. Trump's New World Order. He's pointing at Xi Jinping. This was November 3rd, 2025. That one on the left. The one at the bottom says, on the bottom left says, how Donald Trump is building a new world order. The Economist, the Dawn's New World Order. It says the World Economic Forum opens this week in Davos, Switzerland, with Donald Trump set to give a special address to delegates on Wednesday in the midst of a shifting new world order. And here he is again with all the kings. All the kings. Elon Musk, in this interview here on our Telegram page, confirms that no one should go to college because AI is going to supplant and basically make irrelevant any kind of knowledge that you gain in most all fields, really. Unless, of course, it's some kind of trade or something that is highly technical in terms of, working with hands that need to have, when you're a mechanic or you're a plumber or maybe a construction type person that does construction, yeah, they're going to be automating certain things, but there's going to still be need for trades. But if there's certain things that you can automate and use AI for that takes just brain power, you're pretty much, and I mean, they've got it down where they've got AI robots now that can do stuff. If there's AI arms that can do things like surgeries, they're going to be better than surgeons. They're saying even better than surgeons. Elon Musk's jaw-dropping prediction. He says no university degrees will be useful in 3 years, as robots will replace them all, not just in the medical field. Don't go into medical school, Elon says. It's pointless. In 3 years, 2029, Optimus robots will be better surgeons than any human on Earth at scale. In 4 to 5 years, someone says by 4 to 5 years, and he said not even close. The best medicine in the world will be free, better than what the president gets today. Exciting breakthrough or terrifying replacement? I think we know the answer to that. This is weird. An Indiana judge and wife were shot in their home. That happened today. Not sure what that is. Signs of a failing economy when one of the most beloved fast food chicken outlets is filing for bankruptcy. Guess which one that is? Popeyes. Remember Popeyes? It's filing for bankruptcy. No one can afford chicken anymore. Even the GMO kind. It's some kind of monstrosity that they put steroids into and hormones and all kinds of vaccines in. They still can't sell it because it's still too expensive. People can't afford it. Or their pocketbooks are empty. They're living on credit. They're being evicted. But it's the golden age. 130 locations in Florida and Georgia alone files for bankruptcy with $129 million in debt. Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen franchise is filing bankruptcy. Pretty crazy there. This was according to a Fox article. This is where it says Trump orders 1,500 troops to prepare for possible deployment to Minnesota. He gave the order to prepare to deploy to 2 infantry battalions from the 11th Airborne Division. What are they going to do? Fly in and parachute in? Are they going to parachute in there? Why not? Let's make it dramatic. Here, the Fox News headlines were, Trump is coming to Davos in Master of the Universe mode to lay down the law. This is what Fox News is saying. Can you believe that? Fox News. Let's see, there was something else here I wanted to show you here. All right, look at this. This is what Fox News had to say.
We are about to see a takeover. The World Economic Forum starts today in Davos, Switzerland. President Trump will be there. He's taking it over. Our president will arrive with a huge delegation. Marco Rubio, Scott Bessent, Howard Lutnick, Steve Witkoff, they'll all be there. And in the center of the village of Davos, there is USA House, which will host a week's worth of meetings and discussions with the U.S. delegation. America dominates. This year's event will be different from the past. In the past, the conference was centered on a liberal view of the world, big business, big government, and of course, climate change. Trump and his cabinet represent the opposite. Drill, baby, drill is on the table this time around. Economic growth, not sustainability. That's the policy prescription that Trump brings with him. And quit screwing billions out of our dominant tech companies. We innovate, Europe does not. This year's meeting is titled A Spirit of Dialogue. And dialogue is what the happy campers will get. Specifically, dialogue about trade. The Europeans are all bent out of shape by Trump's threat to impose tariffs if Europe doesn't get on board with America controlling Greenland. Danish officials will not be there, but top Europeans, they will meet with Trump. They will either negotiate a deal or retaliate, and that would really upset our president. Our president is only 1 year into his second term, but he's setting the world agenda. Venezuela, Cuba, Iran, Gaza, Greenland, energy, AI, and above all, economic growth. That's the America the world will see at Davos. Trump runs the show this time around.
Oh, really? Oh, really? Is that true? So Trump does run the show. I hope that we're not going to see some terrible backlash. But then again, if he does run the show, then you might wonder, is this the guy that the Bible speaks about? You got to wonder. Like I said, he could be the guy that rules the world for a period of time. It's a very short period of time, according to the Bible. But some would say he's got to be Middle Eastern. He's got to be coming from the Assyrian. The Bible says he's an Assyrian. Well, supposedly, if you look in history, Assyrians did migrate into the German area, the German region of where Germany is. And I guess some of his heritage goes back to that region. So you could say maybe he is an Assyrian. But anyways, getting back to what I wanted to show you here. There's another thing here I wanted to show you there really quick. This is Fox News talking about. Did I do this right? Okay, yeah, here we go. So what did Fox News say? It said, look at this. Here's the headlines. Trump heads to Davos to lay down the law on trade and global priorities. And look at all the assets we have over here in Iran. Is something going to go down here pretty soon? You think something's about to happen? Uh-huh. USS Roosevelt's right there as well. You got to wonder what's going on there. Let's take a listen in and see what they had to say here, out of curiosity. Let's see what they had to say.
Let's bring in former Deputy National Security Advisor, the Heritage Foundation Senior Fellow, Victoria Coates. Victoria, thank you so much for being here. I think Brian and I both would agree when we hear Davos, we go, eh. However, the president is going with the biggest group of U.S. representatives ever. This is flood the zone, we're here. What kind of message does that send to the rest of the world, particularly those thumb-sucking globalists?
Well, Dagan, Brian, good to be with you. And I think the thumb-sucking globalists are probably shaking in their Gucci shoes at this point because they know President Trump is coming as in a master of the universe mode to lay down the law with them about how things are going to go. And Europe has been making all of these noises.
Master, oh, sorry, I had my mic open there, but did you hear what she said? Master of the universe mode? He's coming in the master of the universe mode. He's going to set everybody straight. The globalists are shaking in their boots. Trump is going to lay down the law. Everybody's afraid of him. Really? I don't know about that. I don't know about that. But then again, if it's true, then maybe they're just yielding to him. Maybe they're just yielding to his authority that he has received, as the Bible says this man would. Think about it. If this man is receiving authority, then the kings of the earth recognize it, and they are afraid of him. Maybe they are afraid of him. Do you ever think about that? Maybe they are afraid of him. Remember, I told you he would rise from the political dead at the last minute when he was counted out judicially, criminally. He was basically a pariah in so many ways, but I said, nope, he's not out. He's going to rise from the political dead. And sure enough, at Butler, the moment had arrived for him to rise and fight. He came back from a political and a mortal judicial head wound, as the Bible says he would. And then he would shoot up in the polls and he would win at the last minute. I told everybody that before it happened. And I was totally, completely not changing my position whatsoever, in spite of the fact that many people thought we were crazy and that we were way off. There was no chance in a snowball's chance in hell he was going to win. Even Bezos, Zuckerberg, they had all put their money on Kamala. Because the globalists could make anybody win. They made Joe Biden win, and he only campaigned, twice? And he was a dementia patient. You don't think that Kamala Harris and everybody else that was liberal thought that she had it in the bag? That they were going to make her and crown her as the king? I mean, even that series that was released in 2026 in January with, it was a Netflix series, or it was a Netflix short series, and it was with Robert De Niro called Day Zero. The president was a woman, and she looked very similar to Kamala Harris. So whoever produced that, and that scenario had everything to do with an AI shutdown of our grid and everything. They already war gamed that out because they thought she was going to be it. They thought Kamala Harris was going to be it. Why'd they write her in there? Because basically it's a woman that looks like her too. But little did they know that Trump was going to rise from the political dead at the last minute. And sure enough, he did. So yeah, the kings of the earth, they might be shaking in their boots. They might be right. Let's see.
about how they're going to protect Greenland. I think they sent 20 people on that mission this week, that somehow that's going to repel the United States military that just took out Nicolas Maduro. So, their threats are pretty empty, but it's a really great opportunity for the president to send an economic message.
It's not so much about Europe and them being able to be bulldozed over because we already did it to Maduro. It's about whether or not China and Russia are going to make good on their threats and not let it happen. That's what I think we should be really thinking about. Not about how awesome we are beating up people that are... It's kind of like a big bully beating up somebody that's really weak, thinking he's awesome. Look at that. I just beat up that kid. You want me to beat you up too? I beat him up. I'll beat you up too. You better shut up. And then you got someone like China or Russia that walks up and says, oh, yeah? Well, I'm their big brother. You want to mess with me? You want to mess with me? What are you going to do about it? Let's see what you're going to do. Let's see. Put up or shut up. Let's see. Hit me. Are we going to hit them? Because they got nukes. And they got quantity. China has quantity, not just quality. We might have a little better quality of certain things, but they've got quantity. They can swarm our defenses with all kinds of weapons that they have. I'm just saying, we're in a precarious situation right now. And I don't think that these people really get it.
That the GDP between the European Union, the United Kingdom, and the United States, that's over $50 trillion. That's where the game is. And so if the Europeans can get their climate policies in order, if they can get their security spending in order, this can be a great time for the transatlantic relationship. But he's not going to play the game as usual.
I want to move on to another relationship. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney met with President Xi to ink a trade deal slashing tariffs on Chinese EVs and Canadian farm products. He's breaking from President Trump's hardline agenda, and Carney selling it as a new economic partnership with some very interesting wording.
I believe the progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
Okay, so Victoria, Carney's talking about a new world order as he partners with China. Opinion? That sounds like the most foolish thing a person could say. What does he mean by that?
No, it's a terrible bet. And apparently what he wants are cheap electric vehicles to flood into Canada. And bear in mind, Brian, these Chinese EVs are terrible. They all have kill switches on them. So you can be driving around one day and Chairman Xi can decide he wants to shut off your car. That sounds awful. And why do we really want EVs in Canada anyway? They don't have the infrastructure.
Okay, so, we don't want that because they can shut it off. Well, what about a digital ID? Can they shut off that? Doesn't Trump want that? I thought Trump wanted all this digital tracking, tracing, tagging, and bagging us. I mean, same thing, isn't it? I mean, isn't it the same thing? I mean, look at this. Look. I mean, you just tell me. I'm going to show you right now. Look, you tell me what this is. What's the difference? You tell me what the difference is here. This is Trump talking about a digital tracking system on land, in air, and on sea. A proper tracking system. This was back in 2016, 17 when he was saying this. He was saying that we need to be tracked and traced because of the threats. This is going to be biometric. He says biometric. He says, I believe he says biometric here, or well, let's just listen to it. Let's listen to it in his own words.
The biometric biometric entry-exit visa tracking system, which we need desperately. This system is in place, and I will tell you, it will be on land, it will be on sea, it will be in air. We will have a proper tracking system. We will have a proper tracking system.
Okay, so proper tracking system, right? So if this biometric tracking system can be shutting off your access to funding, your bank account. I mean, they already did that during 2020 COVID for all the people that were saying negative things about the vaccine. Did you know that? There were people that were influencers that were getting their PayPals turned off and their bank accounts were being turned off. They did the same thing to people in Canada, you know, that were protesting for the truckers. They would turn off their bank accounts and they froze all their funds because of their political First Amendment speech rights. And you don't think that they can shut you off when you've got a digital currency and a digital ID and, you know, this is where it's all going. You know, if you just take China for an example of what they do with their Everything app, they've got the We app, and it's very similar to what Elon Musk, and he praised the We app. He loved the We app. He says, oh, that's great what China's doing, right? And what do they do with that We app? Well, everything goes through the We app. You have to have a cell phone that has a barcode on it. If you happen to lose your cell phone, you're out of luck, but the barcode basically connects you to everything. Your bank accounts, your social media, everything has to be accessed through your cell phone and that barcode or the QR code. Well, that's really going to change here real soon. And that's going to be something biometric. It's going to be somehow digitally attached to your person. You won't even need a cell phone anymore. Because what happens when you do lose the cell phone, right? Not everybody has a cell phone. They might lose it or whatever. So they're going to have this technology, not only just as an implant, but it will be a part. There will be Internet of Bodies. There will be an Internet of Bodies. If you don't know what that is, you basically become a node. You send and receive information just like a node in the internet. And yes, you'll be able to use your cell phone right inside of your own head. Your own body will be utilizing that technology. They've already got bone technology where you can hear without anything. They can shoot a sound right into your ear. Your ear picks it up. You know, the Google glasses where you can see everything right on your glasses. It's just like a computer screen. They say they can put this where once they get it into your body, the technology, you'll be able to see it right on your retina, right? They've got it now where you can walk around with these Google glasses and you can look at somebody and it will digitally identify who that person is by facial recognition. You have the software already set up in your glasses, and it basically scans their face, tells you who they are. You don't even have to know who they are. You'll know everything about them. It'll read it out right on your glasses. You can read it right there. Bam. You don't think that they don't have technology that you can't even fathom what they've already got. And it's pretty amazing when you really start doing the research on this. But when you're talking about biometric tracking and having a system where it basically integrates everything, you know, all your digital records are going to be in there. Your licenses, your bank accounts, your passports, every personal bit of information, your social media history, everything will be there. They will know everything about you. And this is what happened in China. They've got a social credit score so that when you do something that's not looked upon kindly by the dear leader, they give you a demerit. They give you a mark against your score. And as your score turns from green to yellow, you start losing privileges. You might not be able to buy as much food. You might not be able to travel. You might not be able to rent that house. Your credit score goes down. It's not it has nothing to do with your business, the way you handle your finances. It doesn't have anything to do with like like a what we would have as a a credit score. We're not talking about a credit score on business and finance. We're talking about a social credit score. Oh, you talk to that person who was connected with someone that's criticized the government, or somehow you're related to somebody that did something that was frowned upon. Okay, so you got a demerit. You were in an area that had a protest against the government. Well, you shouldn't have been there. That's another demerit. So you're losing privileges, right? So you get into a yellow zone. The yellow zone tells you you're in trouble if you keep moving down into the red. You get into the red, they're going to pick you up, or they're going to basically 86 you out of society. You could either go to jail or you could be living on the street. Okay? So this is the digital everything app that's coming to X. X is the digital everything app that Elon Musk wants to bring in. He wants everything to be going through the everything app. And this isn't just for America. I think he wants it to be worldwide. And who knows if we're going to have that. I don't know if the regions are going to get along scripturally it says that these regions are still kind of at war with the beast. So it doesn't look like the whole world goes along with the beast and the beast kingdom, but this kingdom is definitely a kingdom that affects all the world. It affects the religions of the world because there's a global type of religious, architecture there. And then you've got the digital currencies that track and trace everything that you're doing. And literally, if you don't go along with it, there's clauses in there that say that they can take you out, unalive you. You might get persecuted. So that whole topic is interesting. We've gotten into that quite a bit, but that's about all we want to probably get into tonight. I think we've gone long enough. I probably tired everybody out here. I'm looking at some of your comments, and if you have any questions or any comments, I definitely will answer some of those if you do. Will you get a better social credit score if you pick up the butts from the street? The Chinese don't allow you to chew gum, I heard. I heard if you chew gum, you get in trouble. I think they can arrest you if you chew gum. They don't allow gum because they don't want gum on the streets. Crime to chew gum. I think it was China. Maybe it was someone else. Oh, it was Singapore. If you're in Singapore is a very surveilled state. It's got camera systems everywhere. It's probably one of the most strict legal states in the world. If you chew gum, it's illegal. They ban the import of it and they ban the sale of it. Isn't that crazy? They don't like that it damages public transports like the MRT. I guess that's some kind of a transport rail system. And they say that, it says that while chewing isn't the crime, importing, selling, and improper disposal carry heavy fines and potential jail time. So maybe if there's anybody chewing gum and threw the gum on the floor, if you pick that up, they might like that. I don't know if there's too many people that smoke now. Do they have a lot of smokers in China? I know that smoking is kind of an out thing now. Not a lot of people smoke like they used to. Not as many butts out there on the floor. But anyways. More credits. You'll get more credits. It's called Chinese points. Chinese brownie points. You got to get those brownie points. Let's see what else you got out there. You just bought some Sara Lee honey wheat bread? Really? What does that have to do with anything? Throw pennies at you. Well, you know what? Picking up pennies now is probably worth it because if you happen to pick up a real copper penny, it's worth like, what, 6 pennies now? A lot of people now are going through all the pennies in the banks, and they're trying to pull out all the copper because the copper is worth a lot more than the penny itself. So every one penny now could be worth 5 cents. That's copper. It has to be older than 86. I think it's 86. It's like what they did back when silver was no longer in the coinage, and people would go and they'd find all the silver penny or the silver dimes and the silver quarters, silver half dollars. No, those are worth a lot now. Well, I'll tell you. I think a silver quarter now is worth like, I think it's like $10. Can you imagine if you would have saved silver coinage back in the 80s? People were still looking for it back in the 80s. It's about $10 for a silver quarter. Can you believe that? That's just absolutely crazy. Yeah. $10 for a silver quarter. Is it 1982? Yeah, 82. 82 and older for pennies. There are some ways in which social credit scoring could promote the cleaning and restoration projects to earn credit that are not offered in the current system. Really? So if you got there to clean, you get better credits, you get more credits? I like that. Mamacita says, the Great Value brand, which is probably all GMO'd, it's probably all manufactured, and I think it's just fake food. She says that you can get the bread and wring it out like a sponge. And it's true. Some of that bread you get in the store, you can just, and it'll come right back, and you eat it. It doesn't. You can put it in a. It's kind of like McDonald's. You get a McDonald's hamburger and you put it in a bag and you put it somewhere and it won't rot. It'll just stay there for years. They said they've done. They found McDonald's burgers that were like 30 years old that never molded. The bread never molded. The meat never deteriorated. It's like formaldehyde. It's got something in it that doesn't make it. Can you imagine that going into your gut? You're trying to digest it and it's not going anywhere. Oh, that whole segment on Trump and eating fast foods. You got to see this. Did you guys see that segment where I was talking about Trump and fast food? It's absolutely crazy. I was so surprised that JFK had said this. He said this in an interview. I went and I looked at the interview and I was sitting there watching it and I was like, the lady that was interviewing him was busting up laughing. And when I read it, I couldn't stop laughing either. So I'm glad I'm not the only one, but she literally could not stop laughing at what RFK said about Trump's eating habits. I mean, junk food junkie. You guys remember that?
I still do.
You remember that song, Junk Food Junkie? I'm a junk food junkie. I always ask for more. And he was trying to act like he was some kind of health food nut. But then at night he would go and he would steal ding dongs and donuts, and he would hide. He had a little stash and he would eat them in a Pringles potato chips. Anybody remember that song? It was one of those Dr. Demento songs. Anybody ever listen to Dr. Demento? All right, so here, check this out. I mean, to me, that's just absolutely crazy, but that's what he did. Yeah, he did lose a lot of weight. He looks like a totally different person now. Look at this picture of him. This is the way he used to look during Trump's admin right here. See where I'm right here? See how hefty he is in the face? And look at him now. Has it been that long? I mean, look at how thin he is now. He lost a lot of weight. Wow. How old is that guy? He's 62 years old. So yeah, he did lose a lot of weight there. He must be on the paleo diet. No more carbs, it looks like. No more McDonald's burgers. He's not been hanging out with Trump anymore. That's probably what it is. Because, Trump eats McDonald's like all the time, they say. They say that's his favorite. I think it was, and I think this is an actual quote from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He said something like, Trump, let's see if that came. Yeah, that was 3 days ago. Listen to what RFK said about Trump. And I'm thinking, did RFK do this on purpose? Like, why would he say this? Because this makes Trump look bad. RFK Jr. says he doesn't know how Trump is alive based on his eating habits. This is USA Today, and it's all over media. It's like everywhere. Like, this was 3 days ago. So, like, why is he saying that Trump has bad diet habits, right? He said, it's a wonder President Trump is still alive based on his diet. According to Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he appeared on the Katie Miller podcast, hosted by Deputy Chief Staff Stephen Miller's wife, on January 13th to discuss everything from recent changes to federal nutrition and vaccine guidelines. He probably just said it off the cuff and he didn't realize what he had. It's kind of like when he admitted that he had worms eating his brain. Remember that? Well, he's running for president. He's telling everybody, yeah, I had worms in my brain. They were eating my brains out. and I want to be president. It's like what? He has no filter to understand that is not a good way to get people's confidence, to telling them that his brain at one point was being eaten by worms. It's like, maybe he's not getting it. He's telling the whole world that Trump should be dead by what he eats. And he should know because he's close to the president. It says, when asked which member of the administration has the healthiest diet and fitness routine, he mentioned Sean Duffy and Pete Hegseth. When asked who had the most unhinged diet, Kennedy answered the president. He said the interesting thing about the president is that he eats really bad food, which is McDonald's and, candy and Diet Coke. He drinks Diet Coke all the time, all the times, at all times. Now, Diet Coke is deadly, by the way. If you guys don't know how bad Diet Coke is for you, whatever you do not drink Diet Coke. Diet Coke, how many of you guys know how deadly Diet Coke is? Anything that's diet, anything that has diet soft drink, deadly, 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 deadly. Do not drink it. And there's a lot of reasons for why. You can go into all the science of it, but I'm not going to do it now. But he says, Kennedy says he has the constitution of a deity. Like he realized, I really screwed up. I better start praising him. I better start lifting him up, saying that he's above human, that he's supernatural. He's got to be. I gotta tell the whole world he's supernatural now because I'm in trouble when I get back. I'm probably going to be thrown right out on my keister now. He realized what he did was wrong, so now he's got to worship him. He's a deity. He's got the body of a god. I don't know how he's alive, but he is. Kennedy, what is up with Kennedy? So anyways, that was something that I thought was pretty funny. I didn't see the whole quote, but let's see. And then he goes on and says, when he's at Mar-a-Lago or at the White House, he's eating really good food, he said. But if you travel with him, you get this idea that he's just pumping himself full of poison all day long. And you don't know how he's walking around, much less being the most energetic person any of us have ever met. But I think he actually does eat pretty good food. That's because he's animated by the powers that be. It overcomes the McDonald's. In fact, that's kind of like, that's what they feed on. That's what gives them energy. But anyways, what? Regardless of his French fondness, Trump is incredible. Trump is in incredible health, said Kennedy, who also noted that Dr. Oz, TV personality and Trump-appointed administrator to the Centers for Medical and Medicare Services, said that the president has the highest testosterone level that he's ever seen for an individual over 70 years old. I know that the president will be happy that I repeated that. Listen to this. See, I told you he's kissing up to Trump. Look at what he said. He thinks that, hey, he knows. Well, President Trump wants the whole world to know that he's virile, that he's a man's man, that he still desires women at 70 years old. He wants me to pump him up. Look at this. He's going to be so happy that I said this. See how Kennedy thinks? That's Kennedy's thinking. Whatever I can do to please the president. Let's call him a deity. Let's call him like a god. And I'll be praised. I know it. I'll be promoted maybe. Maybe he'll give me more powers. No, seriously, the woman that was interviewing Kennedy, I was watching it. Now, Kennedy's really hard to understand. When he talks, it's very hard on the ears. You don't want to even listen to him because he sounds so gruffled, and it's just really hard to make out what he's saying. But the woman that interviewed him was laughing the whole interview, and he was sitting there. I mean, this reminds me of Kennedy. You got to see this. There's another, I don't know what's up with Kennedy. See, this is why they appointed Kennedy, because he's easily told what to do, and he'll do it. Just from that little clip there, it shows that he totally, completely worships the president. Like, he'll do anything to please the president. He's a virile god. He's got the testosterone level of a 20-year-old. He's amazing. Like, he eats whatever he wants, but he's got the physique of a 20 or 30-year-old. He'll make up anything. This is Kennedy. And then look at this. Look at what Kennedy said here. Let's see if I can find it here. This was absolutely crazy, what Kennedy said. Oh, gosh, now I got to go. I think I posted it not too long ago. Trump. Let's see if I can see this here. Kennedy. Where is my Kennedy? He was interviewed by Roseanne Barr. Roseanne Barr. I was just absolutely beside myself when I watched this. I think this is it. Listen to what he says. Listen to what he says here. Roseanne Barr can't even believe it. And she's crazy. Roseanne Barr is off-wall crazy, and she's sitting there, can't believe what RFK tells her. He admits to a crime that he committed 10 years earlier. And if you really listen to what he's saying, first of all, and I'm just going to tell you, he's driving down the road. I'll just tell you what happened. So he's driving down the road. A woman in front of him hits a bear. It's a small bear. He pulls over. He picks the bear up because he wants to skin it. He wants to skin the bear. He wants to keep the bear hide. I don't know if he's going to eat the meat or whatever. He said it was still good. Stuck it in the back of his car, right? Sticks it in the back of his car, goes out with some friends, has a dinner party, stays out to the wee hours in the night, and then remembers he's got to go somewhere. He's got to fly out. He can't even go home. But he's got this bear in the back of his car. Been sitting there for I don't know how long. It's probably already hot. Who knows? Maybe it's starting to smell. It's got rigor mortis now. It's like all stiff probably. He decides, well, we got to get rid of this bear. What are we going to do with this bear? He's in New York City. He decides, okay, guys, what should we do? He said everybody was drunk except for me. Yeah, he said, except for me. He says everybody said, and then I said, well, why don't we just take it into Central Park and will lay it out like it's been hit by a bicycle. He had an old bicycle in his car. He dresses up the scene by putting the bike next to the bear, and they lay it on the path, right? This is at night, in the middle of the night. They're bringing this bear in the middle of the night, laying it on a pathway, and then they put this bicycle and they lay down the bike next to the bear. So they'll think, oh, somebody hit the bear on the bicycle and killed it. So then he goes home, he gets to wherever he's going, and he sees on the news, it becomes a national news story. There's helicopters flying over. There's a huge police presence. They're trying to figure out who killed this bear. They're taking fingerprints on the bicycle. He's thinking he's going to get in trouble. He never says a word about it. He keeps it quiet for 10 years. 10 years, he doesn't say a thing about it. And then all of a sudden, one day, a news outlet contacts him about it. And how in the world did they know it was him? I don't know. He didn't really say. I don't know if he made it a statement or what. But he talks about it as if that they just brought it out because now it's a news story because he's running for president, right? But that just shows the mind of RFK. Like, why would he do that? Why would anybody do that? Like, I mean, if you're going to get rid of the bear, just throw it out, go somewhere and just, but why set it up and make it? And he said it sounded like a great idea. Everybody thought it was a great idea and everybody was drunk. Oh man, I just thought it was crazy. We don't have to listen to it. It just, but the look on Roseanne's face is just priceless, man. I mean, it's just absolutely priceless. And she's like, wow, this was August 4th, 2024 when this happened. And I guess he was going to eat it too. He was going to eat it. He was going to skin it and then he was going to eat it. He thought it would be amusing when somebody found it. That was it. He said it was for a whole decade. Nobody said anything about it for a whole decade. And then all of a sudden, a New Yorker came out and they somehow found out. How did they find out? After a decade, nobody ever questioned him about it? Did they know it was him? They must have known it was him from the fingerprints, but they never said anything. But a decade later, it comes out in the New Yorker. And then they're going to make a big article, he says. They're going to make a big article about you, but it's not going to be real flattering. And he's like, and he thought it was funny. He said, I thought it was so funny. And then while they're doing it, he's got a whole big old thing of ribs. Look at this big old set of ribs right here sitting on it. Well, anyways, I just thought this was so funny. But I did have an RFK video that went viral. Did you see that? Not too long ago, I had an RFK video. So RFK has been really good to me. I don't know what it is about RFK, but RFK has been really good to me. Look at this RFK video. Look at how many views it got. 810,000 views. Look at that. RFK. Man, I love you, man. Thank you for giving me a whole bunch of new subscribers. I appreciate that. Got me a bunch of new subscribers. RFK. Well, the reason it went viral, and I'll tell you why this video went viral. This video went viral because everybody's wondering, why hasn't RFK done anything about what he said in this video 2 years ago? Basically, that China has taken over all of our pork and is also in the process of doing it with chicken and beef. And they control everything. They bought up all the farms. They basically have a monopoly on pork. And they're injecting all of our pork with all kinds of mRNAs. So you know they're doing this on purpose, man. I'm telling you guys. So everybody in the comments is like beside themselves.
Hey, everybody, here I am.
Whoops. They're beside themselves. I mean, look, you got like 4,000 comments, 5,000 comments with people just like totally, completely can't believe what they're watching on this video. It just shows the peril that America is in. Literally, we're being surrounded on all sides, choked out. America's being choked out. We're about to pass out. Once we're choked out, we pass out. What are they going to do after that? Don't know. Don't know. Maybe we're being sold out. Maybe we're being sold out by someone. For all we know, who knows? Someone's getting paid out really well. They're getting paid out to sell us out. We're being choked out. We're passing out. And they're selling us out. That's what's happening. And all the while they're pretending like they're trying to help us out. We're trying to help you out. That's what we're doing. We're just trying to help you out. But we're really selling you out. I think that's what's really happening. If you ask me. What do you think? This feed is 7 days old. What do you mean it's 7 days old? What are you talking about? What feed is 7 days old? Are you talking about me right now? Royal Splendor? Yes, this is live. Guthrie, what do you think? You think I'm just talking to myself like in a time? You think this is like? Do you think this is a Mandela effect here or what? Am I in an alternate zone, alternate time zone? Mamacita is right. Mamacita is right. Have your own chickens. I've always told you to get chickens. They're going to be laying golden eggs. And by the way, they will be laying more golden eggs. They're going to be worth a lot. You never know, I know, huh? I mean, an alternate universe, you just don't know it. Hey, did you see that video where that dude was he had an old camera system and he was showing his room, and his room was totally different through the camera system, and he walks in front of the camera system and it shows like a totally different background, and he's like, I don't know what's going on. I'm in some alternate universe. Did you see that video? I thought it was crazy. I probably couldn't find it though for the life of me.
Structure. The distances.
Let me see if I can find it really quick. It was really weird, but there's all kinds of weird stuff going on right now. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see. There's so many weird stuff that I look at. No. Nope. I don't see it on my history here. I think it was on one of those reels. You know how you sit there and you watch a reel? You try not to do this, but you sit there and watch the reels, and it goes from one to another. How many of you guys sit back and watch reels and you just get caught up watching a bunch of nonsense? It's like a waste of time. I'll sit there for an hour and I'll be like, what am I doing? It is interesting. It is entertaining, but it kind of becomes a waste of time. You end up getting caught up watching stupidity. And then you end up talking about it, and then it becomes another waste of time. Maybe I shouldn't be talking about this. I'm actually giving energy to it by talking about it. But anyways, guys, I just wanted to make sure we understood what was happening in the world on a bigger scale of things, and really, what is the real meaning behind what's really happening? That's what we have to really ask ourselves. Is it related to Bible prophecy? Is there something more spiritual going on that we should be aware of? And if so, Can we fine tune it, define it, understand our personal, involvement in this context? Like, what are we supposed to do in this moment? How do we respond to the effects that this is going to have on our personal lives, our society, our families? How do we respond? Well, there is a scripture that talks about how the sons of Issachar were they were a tribe that was wise. They were one of Jacob's sons, or descendants of Jacob's sons, known in the Bible for their remarkable wisdom and understanding of the times, enabling them to discern what Israel should do, particularly during King David's reign. And because they understood the times that they lived in, they knew they were like advisors. They understood what needed to be done in order to navigate and get through them in the right way that would be pleasing to God. Really, everything that you do has to be acceptable before God anyway, if you're going to get in. If you want a ticket to get in, you better do it the right way. Amen? How many of you guys want to get in? Especially all you old guys out there, you're getting close to death's door. You better make sure you're doing it right. It's better that you repent right now than never. Better late than never, right? Oh, you know what I put in here? I put, and I'm done now. So this is my coffee. I put that, it's not chocolate, it's coca. Coca. It's the foundation of what chocolate is in this raw form, and it's supposed to be really good for you. But it's great. I love it. Amen. And mamacita. Hey, CS drivers, good to see you, man. The Kanakachi. Well, guys, I think that's about it. I think we're going to just say good night. So long, farewell. Have a good night, a good day tomorrow, and make sure you're hanging out with us on our morning prayer time and devotionals. Now, sometimes I start off a little slow, but as you progress through what I usually talk about, I'm doing this off the cuff. So sometimes, I go through a period where I'm just trying to gain my equilibrium of what I'm going to be talking about. But I do believe that what is said is led by the Spirit. Scott, did you happen to see this morning's broadcast, or I should say afternoon, because I did start kind of West Coast late afternoon, or late morning, I should say, late morning. But did you happen to see it, Scott? Just tell me if you saw the broadcast. Anybody that was there this morning or this afternoon can give a little feedback. So once you get into the flow and you start really getting into Scripture, you'll find that there is a present reality that does kind of become a part of what you're doing. You'll become aware of a presence. I don't know if that happens to you guys, but it happens to me all the time. And I know that it's the Lord. The Bible says we have to know that He's with us. In order to know that you're right with God, that the Lord Himself is present in you. He literally becomes one with you. You will recognize the presence of the Lord when you seek Him. When you do what He calls you to do, you'll become aware that He's there. And I just want all of you guys to become very conscious of where you're at in relationship to God's ultimate plan. If you're doing what He's called you to do, or if you need to adjust things, get things in order. Because everybody has to take stock and make sure that they're right with the Most High. Because things are requiring that, we're getting closer, if you know what I mean. Things may be a lot closer than we realize. So make sure everything is right. Amen. Let's pray. Thank you, Jesus. We pray your blessing on everyone here. You'll equip us, sync us to your perfect will, and help us overcome the world, the flesh, and the devil by the power of your anointing, the holy anointing that is the Spirit of Christ that dwells in our midst and in the midst of our heart, in the midst of our gathering, where two or more of you are gathered. There you are in our midst. And we pray that you bring true humility, true fear of the Lord that brings knowledge, it brings wisdom, the true fear of the Lord that is redemptive, that is refining, that ultimately brings about an awareness of your ultimate plan for the ages and for how we are to live in those times that we find ourselves in. And I pray everyone here finds the peace that passes all understanding that's found only in you. May that peace rule and reign in their hearts and speak to them in their dreams, in their visions, and in their communications. Let them know that you're present and what they must do in order to stay close to you. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you. I will talk to you soon. Have a good night. Amen. Cher told me to tell you, baby, don't go. Precious Robert, please. Please don't go. Don't go. Don't go away. What song? Who sang that song? Is that the song you're trying to lullaby me with the song from the 80s? Is that what it is? Is that what this is? Who was that sang that song? Can somebody please tell me who that is before I go? I'm thinking it was... Who sang that song? Lukashenko? Lukashenko? No, that wasn't it. Now you're going to make me wonder who it sang that song. Is that who you were trying to say, Royale? Let me see if I can find it. Oh, it was Casey and the Sunshine Band? No, that wasn't it. Was that it? Casey and the Sunshine Band? No. Maybe it was, huh? It wasn't Sonny and Cher. It was Casey and the Sunshine Band. Yeah, because I'm sitting here looking at it right now. I'm thinking this is it. Let me see if this is it. Yeah, that was it. You remember this? This always reminds me of high school. They did the dances, they do all the dance, and then all of a sudden they can do the slow songs. Or when you were like on the skating rinks. Remember how skating rinks were really big back in the 80s? And everybody would go to the skating rink, and then everybody would be skating, and all of a sudden there was the slow songs that come on. You got to go out there with a girl and slow skate. How many of you guys remember that? And they would play songs like this. Tell me that don't remind you of when you were a kid. Huh? How many of you out there are that old? Totally, huh, Josh? All right, brothers and sisters. God bless you. I will see you back here really soon. Have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon.